Hey, Steve.
What, John?
What word in the dictionary is spelled incorrectly?
I don't know what.
Incorrectly.
Oh, man. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engage, a family gaming podcast. This is episode 142. My name is Stephen Duetzmann. I'm your host, as always. This is the official video game and board game podcast for EngageFamilyGaming.com. That's a website on the internet where parents like myself and my co-hosts come together to give parents and families the information they need to get their family game on. This week, it's a special show. Number one, we're talking about video games, and video games only. I know last week we confused everybody. We mixed it up a little bit. I had an interview with a board game person. You should definitely listen to that if you didn't, because it's a really cool Kickstarter. And I did a ride-along interview with my son for talking about his reactions to E3. But this week, I have a very special guest. My good friend, Kahleif Adams from Spawn.onme. How are you, sir?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. Excited that we got a chance to finally chop it up in podcast spaces.
Absolutely. So the story. So I say good friend. This is literally a man I have been in contact with for maybe 30 seconds because he and I almost took each other out at E3 because you were coming out of an event. I was waiting in line, not paying attention because I don't ever really pay attention. I just kind of lumber around and see what happens, and I happened to see your name tag, and I was like, wait, I know this dude. I gotta say something. And then we were off to the races because we don't get a moment to stand still at E3.
Yeah, true.
But true, funny story, both of us got our tails handed to us in Soul Calibur 6.
Yeah, I got my butt kicked by a younger foe, so I'm gonna blame it again on my age. I'm going to blame it on that and my day job for giving me terrible carpal tunnel.
Fair enough.
I'm going to blame it on the rain, and then probably a couple other things before the night's out.
So we're going to blame it on everything. So here's what we're going to do, folks. I'm just going to regularly bring up Soul Calibur 6, and every time I do that, he's going to blame it on something different. I'm going to blame it on hashtag Steve is bad at video games. That's what I'm going to do. We actually have a hashtag about this. It comes up every once in a while because I am hilariously bad at games.
I love it.
So, hilariously bad. You haven't even seen it. But, so anyway, before I get too much farther, I do want to thank you folks for listening. I hope the games that you guys are playing have been great. I know I've been playing some good stuff. We're going to talk to Kahleif here in a moment. So we do want to make our show as interactive as possible. So please reach out to me on social media or shoot us an email, message us on Facebook, etc. with any comments, questions, topics, suggestions. The easy stuff is gone because E3 is over. So now until the holidays, we don't really know what to talk about. So we want you to tell us what to do. So, Kahleif, let's get started first. Before we go around the horn and talk about some of the games we've been playing, I get to do the fun part when I have a guest because you have your own show. You're not just some random stranger. And I think your show is pretty awesome. I have been listening to it. I discovered you when you were on Kinda Funny Games Daily, which is like bucket list level stuff for me. And don't worry, we're going to talk about that. But you have an awesome show that I've been listening to. Why don't you tell me more about it and thus my audience? What's up?
Well, thank you thank you for listening to the show, and thank you for checking in on us when I was doing Kinda Funny. That was a very, very cool opportunity to be able to do that.
I'll bet.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We'll get back to that in a second. Well, I run a show called Spawn.onme. We've been doing our show for almost 5 years now. We're almost at our 250th show. As of probably in a couple of weeks from now, probably the beginning of August or mid-August, we'll probably hit our 250th show. But we started because we felt like there was a void in the gaming industry, and it was a spot where folks weren't really talking about diversity. Folks weren't really talking about gaming from a black perspective. And we felt like we had an ability to kind of convey and talk about, games through that prism and be able to kind of give people of color and people who are kind of in those marginalized spaces a place to shine in a spotlight so they could be able to kind of talk about the games they make. When I was growing up, that was one of the things that I first wanted to do as a profession. And I was like, I want to make games. I've been playing them since I was 3. So I was like, there's got to be some people who look like me in this industry. And who are those folks? Can we find them? And we kind of started our journey there, trying to figure out, and kind of sticking to that mission statement of trying to spotlight those people and giving them a voice and a space to be able to talk about why they got into the industry and also share, for the 12-year-old version of me, give those kids a little bit of hope to say, you know what, there are people in this business who are coming from the places that you might have come from and may have some similar experiences, and you can do it too. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun on the backside too.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. So you say you've been doing this almost 5 years.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I've been doing Engaged Family Gaming almost 5 years.
Nice.
Just a little bit more than 5 years. I think this is just preordained that we meet. I would think when you talk about the void, as far as like discussions of people of color, etc. I would imagine that 5 years ago, like it's not great now,
right?
But 5 years ago, it was even worse.
Yeah, it was more difficult to find folks, especially because social media was around, but we weren't really. At least I wasn't really using it in the same ways that I am now to kind of promote the show and do outreach and connect with people and network and things like that. So, I was in New York when we started the show. I'm from the Bronx originally, and then moved out to Portland, Oregon 4 years ago. And it was interesting just to be able to kind of poke at folks, even in that corner of the world, where things have changed a lot there too. New York now has a way bigger gaming center than it did when I was there. It was just Chinatown Fair. In terms of a big arcade gaming scene in terms of fighting games, and also there were a couple of startups there. Rockstar was there, and Microsoft had some things out there on the indie scene side. Now they have Giant Bomb is out there, Waypoint is out there, all that stuff. So like the conversation has changed a lot in the fact that people are kind of sharing the fact that they're doing that work, and now the conversation around diversity has changed a lot, and I hope that we help to kind of usher that conversation in. But I feel like even the conversation around diversity and finding more people of color in the spaces that we usually kind of look for, they're out there now. Like folks know their names, and they are willing to put themselves out there in social spaces to be like, yeah, I am doing this kind of work, and you should follow me, or you should check out the stuff that I'm doing. So it's changed a lot.
Sure. Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it must have felt in the beginning. Now it's I would imagine because of Twitter being what it is, and obviously you're very prolific on Twitter.
I try.
Well, I mean,
I tweet a lot.
Yeah, you tweet a lot, but I mean, you tweet a lot, and a lot of people tweet at you. So I call that prolific. That's how I met you, really. So it's a little easier now. I would think in the beginning it must have felt a little bit like detective work, I mean, okay, so I'm that my guess is correct then. So it was you really had to dig to try and find folks.
Oh, totally. I mean, the folks that I remember specifically, even in terms of not even just gaming, but tech in general,
sure,
there were very few, at least black people in those spaces who were out front where you knew and were able to kind of name drop them and say, well, Will O'Neill, when he was there at G4, when that was an actual thing, when that was an actual channel before Spike ate it up. and then it was Ngai Kroll, who was a regular on Game Trailers with Jeff Keighley. And those are like really the only two, and Phil Moore on Nick Arcade. They were like three black people in all of that. There were no women. There were specifically no black women, and there were hardly any other Latino folks. There were some Asian folks in the space, but it was really me coming up in the podcasting game and kind of all of us. I think all of us looked at gaming if we're of a certain age. I'll be 40 this year, so. I grew up on, the One Up show and OneUp.com and GameSpot and all those places where they had their own podcasts. We can confirm was a huge part of my life for a very long time. The One Up show and all those, and Giant Bomb as well. So it's like all those things came up, and I was always wondering, like, where are the people? Like, there's got to be somebody.
Yeah.
And then you start to kind of poke around, and you're like, oh yeah, there are some folks folks here who have decided that they want to kind of share their stories too. And it started off just with a wish list where we kind of decided, we said, who are the people who we want to go after in the first couple shows?
Sure.
And luckily we got some good folks in the beginning. One of them I really wish we'd had on the show later once I actually knew how to actually produce a show.
Sure.
Because it was the worst sounding audio. I botched it. I didn't have a good mic then. I was trying to record the show, and and I had my laptop mic on by accident. Oof. And it was the worst. It was the worst. So it was like a great get. But it was awful in terms of like showcasing that person who was definitely known for just their voice. It was a voice actor whose name I can't remember right now because I'm tired and slow.
It's all right.
But
we'll give you a pass.
But it'll come back to me at some point.
Fair enough. Feel free to just shout it out. That's fine.
I will scream it out.
You can have a house moment and be like, it'll be totally fine. You know what I'm saying when I say a house moment, where you just kind of like look off into the distance and then immediately like the Tetris puzzle comes together. Or I guess if we want to be more timely, we could say the luminous cube falls together. I don't know. That game gives me migraines. So literally, I just found that out. I was trying to review Luminous. It gives me migraines. I don't know why. Tetris doesn't do it. Luminous does. It's weird.
That's interesting.
Right? It makes reviewing it kind of hard. I'm going to have to pitch it to somebody else. Let somebody else on my team do it. So anyway, that's a weird aside. So obviously you got this big stack of guests because you've been doing this for 5 years, 250 episodes, which is just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling for me, and I'm on 142. It feels like I just started this yesterday. So I'm looking at the website, which for those listening is Spawn.onme. Smart branding, right? That's you, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's us.
Okay. Good. I was panicking for a moment because of the Skype delay. You kind of had like the zero expression. I was like, oh God, did I really like do all this?
No, you know why? The funny thing is the reason why is because we've been trying. So we've been trying to buy Spawn.onme.com for a very long time. Yep. And a guy who was sitting on it was just doing like Spawn paraphernalia, which makes sense. It's a reasonable jump to conclusion to be like you like Spawn the comic book. And we finally got it like last year, and I've been trying to move that domain over for a long time. This is real nerdy, nonsensical stuff, but it's
That's
like as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I have to move that thing over." That's the reason my face didn't move.
Yeah, you didn't move it yet. You got to do your homework, son. You got to do your homework, or make somebody else do it. It's fine. But yeah, all right. So yes, it is Spawn.on.me or eventually Spawn.onme.com. One
True.
of those. So we got this big old stack of because I go to the Our Guests page, which by the way is very well designed. Good job.
Thank
on
you.
That.
Thank you.
So this is a pretty impressive list of names and well laid out pictures. Who on here who's the first guest you had where you were like, holy crap, did I do that?
It was actually with fourth of the crew, so it's actually myself, Cicero Holmes, Tanya DePass, and Sharif Jackson. It wasn't just like Kahleif show. But Dave Fennoy was the name of the person who I couldn't remember, and he was the person who we got for a really early guest. And if you are familiar with voice acting in video games, he is has the voice of God. He's one of those folks that when you listen to him just talk without a microphone in front of him, it is like amazingly impressive. It is one of those things you're just like, I don't believe that human beings can have voices like this, and you have it, and you do amazing work with it. So he was one of the first people that we got because we basically said, let's shoot for the stars. We have nothing to lose. No one knows who we are. We think we have a good idea behind us, but who's going to come on our show that we've looked up to for a very long time? And we put a Google Doc together and we were like, put names on it. Just do it. And the first big name person that we got was Dave Fennoy. Second person who I particularly geeked out about and was super excited for was Adam Sessler, because I'm a huge fan of Adam Sessler. I love that man with all of my heart.
Listen, address the cess, man. Address the cess.
Yeah, right?
I mean, you got a chance to address the cess. He's such a crazy good... I want to meet him so bad. I really do.
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
He's good people. He's good people, and he's just like a phenomenal human being. Like inside the industry, outside the industry. There's a good story pertaining to him specifically, and my second E3 that I'll share in a minute once we go back to E3 conversations. But he was great, and also there was just Jeff Kanata was a huge one for me personally because I loved his stuff too. So there were a lot of folks who in that space I really wanted to talk to for a long time because it's like as a person who does a show, the people who you've listened to for a very long time, and you're like, sure. I just want to be able to get into a room and chat with them and chop it up and just have conversations about all the stuff that I've never had a chance to talk about. And then there's like Evan Narcisse. I think we had the folks who we had that were really big that I wanted to get. Those are some of those folks. I think some of the most important shows we got that kind of like pushed us forward in a big way was Evan Narcisse. That was a huge show for us. Gosh, I'm trying to think who else. We had Austin Walker. The first time we got a chance to talk to him, that was huge for us. So there's been a lot of milestones for particular reasons, and there's been milestones because of particular guests. So it's been a good ride in that way, and it's been nice to kind of reflect back on what those things were and how it kind of elevated and pushed us forward. Sure.
How was it talking to Mega Ran?
Mega Ran is dope.
Well, I mean,
Mega Ran is just a cool cat. He's such a cool cat. The funny thing is, I didn't do that show. So that first time I didn't do that show, that first time that we got Mega Ran on the show, actually was with Cicero when he went to for any of your folks who are in the Chicago area and love comic books and stuff. There's a great show called C2E2 that he went to and met Mega Ran because he's a huge Mega Ran fan, and he like rushed him, threw a microphone in his face, and and they just went on. But Ran is dope. He's a chill. Listen to the show. That's cool. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm happy you do because that makes it even better.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys that I super want to meet. Because I mean, first off, like that nerdcore, like hip hop, with the chiptune scene. God, I don't know why it grabs me so hard, but it really does. He just put out his new album, and I mean, every second of it, I can't dance, but man, it just moves me. He's just so. Every time I've heard him interviewed, like he was recently on the Video Game Grooves podcast, which is and that he was just so graceful and poised and just super cool. I saw his name on the list. I was like, no, we got to talk about Mega Ran. And it makes sense that he's on there. I mean, he's a prominent figure. What's crazy is it's weird that he's not more prominent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's really just a function of time, because he's just getting bigger, and I love every minute of it. For those of you listening, of the curious soccer mom sitting in the car listening, who the heck is Mega Ran? Mega Ran is because everybody else is just a personality. Mega Ran is a musician. He is a hip hop artist that focuses on nerdcore, like hip hop that involves geek culture. Specifically, he loves games. He does all sorts of stuff though, and he tours worldwide now. He's a big. He's gotten big.
He's gotten real big, and the thing that I love about Ran is that he is so unassuming and so humble about how dope he is. So like, you roll up on him and was like, yo, Ran, I love your stuff. You is super dope. He's like, thank you so much, man. I really just appreciate it. And you're just like, how can you be so humble? You're just too cool to be so humble. But he's super humble about it. 100%. But it's fantastic.
I don't know that I would be able to speak to him. I'm sure I could. Because like any place I did see him, I would probably be in a position where like I have to be on, because I'd probably see him at like a PAX or like an E3 where I'd bump into him. Like I'm not gonna bump into him like on the street where I'm like.
Well, let me know if you go west for PAX West, and if you are at PAX West, I will introduce you to Ran.
I can't go to PAX West.
Next show.
Next show.
We have to figure out a show that we're both going to go to.
That Rand is going to be at.
You tell me the folks that you want to meet. And I will try to make it happen.
Listen, you and I, we're best friends. We'll kind of listen. I'll have my wife make cookies for you. How about that? I will pay in food for some of the connections. I appreciate that.
The smile on your face will be payment alone.
Oh man,
that's all I need.
Oh man. Anyway, so for those listening, Dave Fenoy, he's the dude that did Lee in the Walking Dead video game, right? The Telltale one. Yeah.
Yep.
So, man, you were basically talking to Lee.
Yeah. And it was so good because. It was so good and so bad because it's like, as a podcaster now who's like, I'll say quote unquote professional. I know what I'm doing at this point.
Sure.
It was like getting him on a Skype call was the scariest thing on the planet.
Sure.
Because he has like a booth in his home. So he does his VO stuff, and it's fantastic. And he has this sexy microphone, and it's like one of the best microphones on the planet. And he like gets into the room, and he's like, "Hello," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is Dave Fenoy. This is Lee. I'm talking to Lee right now. I cried when you died in the game, and now I'm talking to you in the booth with the voice of God. It's just unreal."
Oh my God, I would have nerded out on such a level. You know what? That might have been on a level of like, I don't even know. I have no analog. Because that's just, oof. Especially if he steps into the booth and you're recording on your laptop mic. And
I cried. I was so sad after. I was so sad. Like I tried to bury that show, but it's on the feed and people can listen to it. It's just bad.
You can't.
But
listen, you gotta. This is the thing that I have learned is at the end of the day, you just gotta own it.
Yep.
Because. As content creators, and I think this is relevant because every parent listening to this, your kid wants to be a content creator. They haven't told you yet. But the dream of every 9 to 15-year-old right now is they want to be a YouTuber or whatever. Kahleif and I can tell you that's harder than you think it's going to be, but whatever. We never told kids to not want to be professional football players either. So if you want to be a pro YouTuber, go for it. But creating content is hard, and the first time you step in front of a camera or you put a microphone in somebody's face, you are going to screw it up, and you're going to have embarrassing fails. I was trying to interview. It was for board games because we do board games and video games. And so I was trying to interview somebody for a board game, and the Skype call kept dying. My internet, and this is the dude that has made Mice and Mystics.
Oh, right? Wow!
And I got him, and it died. And we ended up rescheduling until the next day. And he was super legit. He was super fine, right? The next day, our internet in the whole town died. So I was like, okay, I could record if I turn my phone into a hotspot.
Yeah.
And we do that. And he was like, no. Let's just punt to next week. It'll be fine. And so we punted to the next week. And then he had a scheduling thing. And it was just all this crazy stuff. And then we finally got on, and I was so starstruck because it's the dude that made Mice and Mystics. And he was making stuff. This was when I was trying to interview him for Stuffed Fables. So I had actually been kind of doing this for a while at this point because this is in the last couple of years. And I just couldn't get the words out right. And I've met Rob Daviau. He and I are good buddies, right? But for some reason, the Mice and Mystics dude, I just lost my mind. I was just like, ugh. And it's my first. Man, listen, everybody wants to go back to episode 1 of Engage, a Family Gaming Podcast. You'll hear me talk to the professor and she who needs no title. That's some throwback stuff. It was embarrassing. It was before I realized you're supposed to script your stuff and prepare. I thought you just stood in front of a microphone and just talked about games. I didn't realize that there was work involved.
Oh yeah, it changes up a lot from episode 20 to episode 100. Hopefully folks have learned a lot in between that space. I've heard some shows where you can tell that they haven't, but it's been nice to kind of lean back and be like, oh, okay, I can get on the microphone now and not have to think as hard as I used to be able to get good content out, and that feels really good.
True.
Like that's a great feeling of just like, okay, I understand what I need to do, and I have my checks and everything looks like it's fine, and now you can just go and then you don't think about it.
So enough about podcasting, because you and I could probably talk for hours about podcasting, but
totally.
And we probably will at some point. But there will be food involved, and we'll be sitting in person.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know, I like food.
Yes.
You can tell by looking at me. So let's talk about E3 a little bit. So this is how many E3s for you? This
was my 5th or 6th, I think. I think it was my 5th.
You know,
because I snuck in way back in 2005. It's a
rite of passage when you lose count. That's a rite of passage. When you lose count and you don't know, that means you're in there with you're in there with Altano and Per Schneider and all them. Like now you're just one of the big dogs. You don't even
I'm still excited every time I get the little like, hey, you got in. Because the way things have changed in the past couple of years, we don't know if we're gonna get in like we thought we were gonna get to. There was a lot of conversations around, and for folks who aren't initiated about the kind of process to get into E3, it's one of those things where you have to give a whole bunch of your statistics. You have to get all your paperwork together. You have to make sure you can get yourself in and the team together, and make sure that all those folks can get in and stuff. And it's gotten a lot more strict in terms of how they've let people in prior until how they've let people in the past couple years. And because of the influx and the kind of growth of social media and of content creators on the kind of streaming and YouTube side, we're in the kind of like old media space at this point. Like podcasting right now is kind of in this kind of weird nebulous space where we put out a lot of good stuff, and in podcasting spaces, it's a very important thing. But in terms of video games, podcasting is not a thing that they are really kind of looking for, and in ways that they want to kind of share out information. So we're lucky that we keep getting in. And that first time in 2005 was when you could actually sneak in. So I had a fake business card that was like Kahleif Inc.
Done.
And it was it. I had like a cheap, really bad looking website, and then just threw all that information into the website, into the site, and they were like, "All right, you can go." And it was fantastic.
It's worth noting that you're the reason we can't have nice things. It's a bunch. Yep. I mean, as long as you're cool with that.
I will own it. I will take that, and I'll wear that with a badge of honor. It's my fault.
I tried to explain. Oh, I doubt it's specifically you, but you were definitely not alone. The reason EFG goes is by the grace of the ESA. Reed Albers, shout out to my boy Reed. He actually found me on the Twitter and saw what we do, saw the work that we do, and he randomly saw me talking about how I wanted to go to E3 one day.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Wait, you want to go to E3?" And he's like, if we gave you badges, how many people would you take?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, one, if that makes it more likely that you'll go." And he goes, "No, you would die. You can't go to E3 alone." So he's like, "Come back to me on Monday." This was a Thursday. He's like, "Come back to me on Monday. Tell me how many of your team would be able to go." And so through the grace of Reed Albers, we were able to go the last couple of years. Which is amazing. And you're right. We're basically kind of old media because I'm really not. YouTube is still something we're learning. I'm still figuring out how to cut video.
Yep.
I was hoping that my 12-year-old would figure it out before I would, because and then I could just put him in the editing bay and just let him do it. But he keeps wanting to play video games. I mean, what's up with that? But yeah, so I'm old media with written reviews and podcasting and all that stuff. But he really wanted a different perspective. That's why he grabbed us, because because we're talking directly to parents. That was why he grabbed us. You guys are just,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate it, and it's something that it's not as you probably imagine, it's not a very well explored niche.
Right.
It existed, and then IGN bought it and shut it down.
Yep.
But they're not buying me. Darn well, I know they aren't because I talked to Per Schneider about it, and he told me to stop, more or less. In a very super nice German way, like super nice. I don't know if have you met him before?
No, we haven't met yet.
He's super super nice. But he without ambiguity was like, yeah, this is not a business model you want to do. You probably want to do something else. I'm like, well, thankfully I do other things. This is not my day job.
Yeah.
But it was encouraging, but not all at the same time. Like, I know he was just trying to be nice, but I was like, wow, nice to meet you too, buddy.
He gave you the don't quit your day job, but I have a day job.
Yeah, exactly. Don't quit your day job. Well, my day job is definitely not this. I live in Connecticut, so obviously I work in insurance. Come on. You know what I do. So anyway, so you've been to E3 a number of times.
Yep.
Has it gotten old hat for you yet? Or is it still like, wow, every time you walk through those doors?
I feel very lucky, and I say that with the utmost respect for the people and shout out to Reed and the folks who helped run that show. We had the chance to talk to one of the folks who ran it before, which was Rich Taylor, in a show a couple years ago, and just seeing the spectacle of what goes on behind the scenes to make that show happen every year is something that you just kind of have to sit back and say, wow, like this is a thing that a lot of people want to go to.
Yep.
Even if they don't want to admit it, because it's like that whole thing of like people are kind of too cool for school, and they're like, I don't need to go do that thing. I can watch it at home. I can just do that kind of stuff, and I don't care about that stuff. But getting to go is such an amazing thing. Like, yes, there are parts of it that are annoying. Yes, there are parts of it that you don't like because of just like, they have changed since the way that the show started. But, as a person who dreamt about going to this thing for years and years and years, and this being a bucket list item that I'd be able to do, as a person who loves gaming, who has loved games for a very long time, mm-hmm. I still, every year that I get a chance to like throw my name in the hat and get a okay to be able to go, I welcome it and I love it. It's hard work. We did so much work this year. We did the most work that we have ever done in terms of doing the work at that show. And I was tired and body hurt, and I'm old and I'm overweight and running around like a mad person, sweating everywhere I go. But every time I get a chance to do it, it is fantastic. Like, I get to see people who I love. I get a chance to see stuff usually that people don't get a chance to see early.
Sure.
Like that's the stuff that people dream about. So like when I hear the too cool for school people and the folks who kind of just don't get it, it makes me a little bit upset, because it's like it's a trade show. But it's like, you got to have fun with this stuff. Like, this stuff is work, but it's also fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's a time you get to geek out with people who like the exact thing that you like. You cherish that. That's a good thing. You don't get a lot of those things in this life. So, like, why not kind of embrace that as a thing that you want to kind of hold on to and, bring you back to your childhood in some weird way,
Oh, you just preached to me. I felt like I was sitting in a pew. So I agree with every word you just said. For me, admittedly, I've gone twice. And I don't know if we'll be able to go back next year. It's expensive coming from Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's tough. And the ROI is not exactly there. But being able to go even a couple of times, was, I mean, you and I are around the same age. We've been gaming our whole lives. And I remember, 10 years ago, before I started writing about games, I would wait until that July issue of EGM and all Game Informer and all because I wanted to see the E3 stuff, and then I remember then they started streaming the stuff, and I was like, wait, so I can watch these press conferences live? And even before I ran EFG, I took the week off from work to watch the press conferences and just like get in there and just really enjoy it, because I am, and I am oft criticized. Criticized is probably the wrong word, but poked fun at for being an ever-flowing fountain of hype. Because I just want to get excited about stuff. I get excited about games I know I'm never going to play. And E3 is just this perfect, like, it is the perfect place to just go get hype about everything. You know? I'm probably not going to be able to have enough time to play like Red Dead Redemption 2, but like, man, am I psyched about it. And
same.
You know, like, so being able, I mean, not that was at E3 because Rockstar doesn't give a damn, but because talking about too cool for school, they just don't care. But you know, I mean, like sitting there watching the Assassin's Creed Odyssey stuff, and like, you know, playing Starlink. Did you play Starlink, by the way?
Starlink was one of my games of the show. That was like one of my surprise games of the show.
You and me predestined to be best friends because it was actually my game of the show. Yeah. It came out of freaking nowhere. This is how I describe it. It's the best Star Fox game ever made. Period. Full stop.
Yep.
You and me.
Agreed.
It's like it came out of freaking nowhere. I played the demo because we got in early and like during the business hours there was literally no line to play, so I just walked up and I played it and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play this. Why not? It's a Toys to Life game. Of course I'm gonna need to have an opinion on it, and I didn't want to stop. They're like, all right, your demo's over, and I was like, are you sure? Can you just hit the reset button? And then I looked back and I saw there was a line, so I was like, all right, I guess I can't wait anymore. But like, it was so good. It
is so many different things in one package. It is mind-boggling that this game is going to come out on so many platforms and be as good as it's going to be.
Yeah. If it does not do well, it's not going to be because of the game.
Yeah.
It's going to be because of the Toys to Life thing. That's what I said on my show when I talked about it. That's what I say in my, you know, because we're actually producing our Game of the Show videos now. My media guy, he got home from E3 and rescued a kitten, literally. It was the day he got home. We took the red eye back to Connecticut. He went back. He took the train back to New Jersey. And he got home and he was talking to his wife and they heard this weird noise out of their window. And they were like, what is that? And it turned out that it was a kitten that somehow was separated from its mother. And they were like, all right, well, we'll give it a little while, obviously. And like by the next day, it was still going. And they're like, all right, well, this kitten's separated. So they rescued it. And so obviously he's been sidetracked. Cat, more important than YouTube, in my opinion.
I mean, that's reasonable.
And it's a cute cat. Those of you who are curious, there's a video up on the Engaged Family Gaming Facebook page, and I have pictures. I will be posting them on our Instagram. Photographic evidence as to why our YouTube has been delayed. But I just, it's so good. And I played a Toys to Life game in 2018, and I wasn't even mad about it.
And that was the thing that I was worried about. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. I don't want these. This is going to be just something I'm really not going to care about because it's going to be an expensive thing that we're going to have to try to figure out how to manage and keep all these pieces together and all this other stuff. And as soon as they told me that as soon as you buy a piece, you get a digital version of it, that sold me. Yep. That was it. That was the one thing I needed to know. I was like, oh, okay, I'm down. Yep. Like, because I, as much as I don't really want the physical pieces, seeing how they work together really was smart. Just like the small thing of like, all right, here's your captain of your ship, and the way that the little cockpit kind of encloses, or encloses over them, and it's just so smart. Like I'm like definitely gonna wind up buying that game, and my wife is gonna be mad at me. She's like, why all these stupid things around the house? I was like, but this is my ship. Yeah. Don't throw away my ship.
Throw away my spaceship. I am 100% with you. I'm gonna have to buy it on a Switch though, so I can get Star Fox.
Yeah, see, that's the hard part. I'm wondering if that's the one that I'm going to buy it on. I'm like worried that I'm going to buy it on Switch, but I really do want it in a mobile form. I mean, but it's going to look really good on the PS4 and the Xbox One.
I mean, but
so I'm just like, I don't know what's going to look.
But that Star
pretty.
Fox though, right?
I know, because I feel like this is going to be the.
Here's the good news. Why not both? Just do it. right? Because here's the good news: you buy the parts, you get the ships for both. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could get. I'm sure, like, you get the wing, right? It'll work on both things.
Is it going to be cross? Is it going to be cross-platform in that way?
Well, I mean,
between Switch and PS4
I
and
have
stuff?
a physical toy.
Yeah.
I plug it into my PS4 thing.
Yeah,
and then
that's
I
true.
plug it into my Switch thing. I mean, you were able to use the same Skylanders. Like, if I had it on PS4 and then you had it on Xbox, I could bring my Skylander and play it on your thing. Pretty sure.
That might be the thing. Yeah, that might be a problem. That might be a problem.
That might be a problem because that means you got to buy the same Toys to Life game twice. That might make the life mad.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. It won't even be the fact that I have to buy it twice. It's just going to be I'm going to be playing it twice. Mm-hmm. And if the stuff doesn't transfer over, if the content doesn't transfer in terms,
the content.
I'm just like, that's the thing. That's the thing I need.
If it doesn't transfer for Fortnite, it's not going to transfer for Starlink. So anyway, we could talk. I'm so glad to have found a kindred spirit in regards to my love for Starlink. Man, I think that game is going to be a surprise hit this year. I really do. I
hope people push it. I hope people buy it because games like that deserve to be bought.
I mean, it's a really, really good and it's the best Star Fox game ever made. So everybody that's been like, I want a new Star Fox game, fine, buy Starlink.
It might be the best No Man's Sky as well.
Oh, did you see? I saw somebody tweeting about this. Somebody called it No Man's Skylanders.
Yes,
I saw that on Twitter, and I was like, I am so mad at you. Why didn't I think of that?
Yes, that's the thing. That's the reason I want it because I still am one of those people who loves No Man's Sky. I'm still unabashedly in love with that game, even though it doesn't do a lot of stuff and they botched a lot of stuff. But
the only reason people are mad is because the dude who made the game was a little excited when he was telling people what the game could do. If they set proper expectations, that would have been. I think it would have been a Game of the Year candidate. I'm not even kidding, right? Like if they set expectations, Anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion about publishers and how people get rushed to make their games and PR and blah and stuff. But that'll be a conversation for another day.
Next time, we'll just have to have you back on. It's fine.
Yes.
I mean, we'll just that's certainly fine with me. Man, I'm so mad I didn't come up with No Man's Skylanders. Like, I'm so mad. So let's talk a little bit about Soul Calibur. Because number one, you and I both got bodied. What's your excuse this time?
My foot hurt and I bumped it and I was bleeding out of my ear.
All right, okay. That's pretty crazy.
E3 is rough, brother. E3 is rough.
Oh, it's definitely rough. I lost because hashtag Steve is bad at video games. Really, here's what happened. I picked the big dude with the not Nightmare. I picked the blonde dude with the big sword. What's his name?
Oh,
is it it's not Siegfried, is it? Is it Siegfried?
I think it is Siegfried.
Siegfried. Something like that. He's definitely German. With a big like two-handed sword, and I was like, this is gonna be my. This is what I was like. Listen, I'm just gonna spam heavy attacks, and it's gonna be fine. And this dude rolled in with like Sophia. And so his plan was, I'm just gonna use fast attacks. And I did not know how to do anything. And I didn't realize that the instructions were literally right in front of us. So I was like, oh, I remember playing this game 20 years ago. And then he just embarrassed me.
Yep. That was me too. I played Maxi.
Oh, all right.
I played Maxi. And the person who I was playing against, it's like, if you don't remember stuff like that, because I have not played a Soul Calibur game in God knows how long. An unreasonable amount of time since I played Soul Calibur. I have moved off of Street Fighter onto NRS games, so I'm a big Mortal Kombat and Injustice fan.
Sure.
And I just was like, okay, I remember 2 moves and they usually work. And he was sidestepping around me, punching me in the face. He was just like,
bruh, listen. You're
He
not
was like,
doing this."
man, listen, do you not know who you are messing with right now? And I was like, I totally don't. How are you?
I actually have no idea who you are.
No idea.
Thanks for handing me my own ass. Oh man,
Literally,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay, thanks. This is great. I'm never buying this game now. Thank you. You've unsold me on this game because I can't be good. Because I can't be good at it.
Yeah, this is one of those like. So I love me some fighting games. I do. We're a Street Fighter house. But I have respect to the NetherRealm. Can I just total non sequitur? Why? So NetherRealm made the mobile WWE fighting game.
Yep.
Why have they
I don't
not
know.
just made that a real game? Because the WWE has probably never been bigger.
Yep.
They've got 30, 40 years worth of dudes that they could just make fighters. It's like, we talk about a games as a service, like, it just never stops. And I would play that.
Yeah. I
don't-
wonder if 2K has a exclusivity thing on them.
I guess that might be why. Because, I mean, it's gotta be, because it feels like it's just so perfect. You know?
Yeah.
Because the character concepts were like The Rock being literally a dude made out of stone, and like those stupid, like those real stupid like concepts, right? Like that was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, having like Paige be like a literal witch, like some of that stuff was just awesome, and makes total sense in an actual fighting game. I mean, and some of those guys like Kane just being himself, like we're not even really giving him any, just literally just Kane. Just gonna have it be everybody else has magical powers, and then we just got the mayor of some town from Tennessee. Like that's it. That's what we got. I don't know why they haven't made that a real fighting game. Anyway, that was a non sequitur. So we're a Street Fighter house. Although I want to get Dragon Ball Fighters. I think it's coming. I think. We just the general has to be sold on it. Soul Calibur is one of those games that like I used to really, really dig it. Like when it was on Dreamcast, like back when I was in college, it was the perfect, great game. Like I just wanted to play it. And now that I'm older, and tell me if I'm a little crazy on this, like the aesthetic and the, you know what I'm saying? Some of the stuff is just it feels like the games industry has grown up and Soul Calibur hasn't.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of like cleavage and unreasonable physics that go along with cleavage and a whole bunch of other stuff in there that's like, you know, costumes where it's you would they're not family friendly.
They're definitely not.
There's a lot of conversations that you would have to have about clothing and about stuff. Like,
right?
Do you want to have the conversation about the birds and the bees or Soul Calibur?
Because of Soul Calibur. Exactly. It's like, do I want Soul Calibur to cause an awakening? Like, is that the game?
Right.
Like, if we're going to go, then let's just, like, play Senran Kagura and just really go. Like, if we're just going to do it, let's just... We don't do anything halfway around here. But, yeah, it's just... the whole time I was playing it, and when I was done, I was like, you know, this game... Not that it was ever wholesome, right? Like, it was...
Sure.
But it just feels... like out of time. Like it really feels like it's just, you know, I mean it's on brand. I mean it's this, you know, Ivy looks like Ivy, you know. I
mean, but that's the thing though, right? Is I wonder if, we'll see when it comes out too, because the sales will be a teller of
obviously
if that game is going to still have that same relevance in the same way. Like I think there's going to be people who are not going to care about that part of it. And just really want a Soul Calibur game, and just because it's a good game. But I definitely feel like there will definitely be people who are just like, I don't want to buy that because it is still doing that old thing that we have all kind of gotten past at this point.
Yeah, so I was listening to like Kind of Funny Games Daily, and they were talking about it, and Greg Miller brought it up to Andrea Renee, and I think he was kind of setting her up, like... Not setting her up in a bad way, but setting her up with assuming that she was going to give the answer like, "Oh my God, it's so terrible." And I think she actually kind of made a really good point. Is like, it's not like they changed the game to make it that way now. It's like it's always been this way. It's not like it's new to the fighting game genre. I mean, so she's like, this is it's almost like it's not that she was giving it, and it's not like she's the one that would be determining pass or fail anyway. She is just one person, but it's like not like it's just getting a pass because it's a fighting game, but at the same time, like it kind of gets a pass because it's a fighting game, because it's like this is just what they've always done. At least they're being consistent.
Yeah.
Almost like it would be way different, like if all of a sudden they like dressed Ivy up like a nun, like it would change. Like it would be. I mean, first off, I would buy that DLC. That would be very different. But you should check your alarm, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm texting my wife about that stuff.
Do we need to take a break?
No,
so
no, I have like, let me see, double check. 15 minutes.
All right, okay.
I'm bargaining with her right now. That's the reason why I keep looking down, because I'm trying to send her a message to be like, "Can you do it?" And she's like, "You said it would be done by then." I was like, "All right, don't beat me."
All right, well, yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that. Yeah, we should be done relatively soon. I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
No.
Now that I know that your general is, we'll refer to her as the admiral. The admiral.
Yes.
We don't want to mess with that, because I don't mess with the general. So,
but don't worry about it. It's nothing crazy.
Okay. So anyway, that's Soul Calibur. I thought it was fun-ish. I mean, I got bodied, but I mean that wasn't the game's fault. That was mine.
Yeah.
I mean, it was neat. But you're right. I think sales are gonna. I don't know if there's room for. I mean, fighting games are having a resurgence. Great. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But I think the gas, like there was a limited amount of oxygen in the room, and I really think Dragon Ball FighterZ took it. Like that game.
Yep, Dragon Ball FighterZ took it, and also what was the name of the mashup game that was like something Force? I can't remember the name of it. It was like, it had
Jump Force.
It had like Jump Force. Jump Force is the game that I'm actually really excited for.
You are. Okay, tell me why.
Because I'm not. I have no knowledge of any of the licensings that are in those games. But just the art style and the visual style of that game just really pulled me in. I got a chance to play it, and it was a lot of fun. But it made me feel like that first Naruto game that came out, and I was like, oh yeah, that was the reason why I like this game, is because of the way you kind of move in all these vertical spaces and throw people through walls and all that kind of stuff. And what I really want is a Dead or Alive game. That's what I want.
They're making one. Did you see they announced it?
Yeah.
There's one in development. I think we got a little ways to go. Hopefully they'll do it right. For those listening, Jump Force. Number one, we do actually have content coming. My brother, the infinite co-host, as we refer to him. Everybody on my show has a stupid nickname. That's how we do.
I love it.
Except for me. My name is Steve. That's so everybody's just stupid nicknames, and I'm Steve. So the infinite co-host is actually working on it because he actually thinks it was one of the there's the huge announcements, and then a line, and then Jump Force, and then a couple other things, and then minor announcements that don't really matter. And he really thinks Jump Force is just shy of a major announcement by nature of the fact that it really brings together a lot of really big brands in the Shonen Jump anime scene, because it's not just a Dragon Ball game, and there's Dragon Ball characters in it, which is important, but it has Bleach. That wasn't announced at E3, but that's been confirmed since. So it has Bleach, which is a big but not massive anime. It has One Piece, which is one of the biggest animes in the world, and a Naruto, obviously. My kids saw the Naruto thing, and they went bananas. My two sons are all in on Naruto. All in. So when they saw that there was a fighting game that had Naruto versus other anime that they know they're eventually going to watch, they just got to finish, they lost their mind. So we will have content written and likely some podcasts talking about it in the coming months. We've got a little while before this game comes out. It felt very Power Stone to me. I played it. It felt really Power Stone to me, which for those listening, it's an old Dreamcast is old school. That's the world we live in now. We're so old. It's an older, kind of more of a party style fighting game. Compared to like technical stuff like Street Fighter V, Mortal Kombat, Injustice. It's really more of a party game, I think. Probably maybe even more casual friendly than like Smash, I think. and I dug it. I think the demo was kind of crappy just because it was over so fast. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it wasn't a good demo.
What are you gonna do? I mean,
They want people in and out.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Jump Force. That game. Here's the real thing that I thought. I was angry for a minute because I thought that what they were doing was announcing basically Shonen Jump Warriors, like Dynasty Warriors, but just Shonen Jump dudes. And let's be honest, that game would be baller. I would play that so hard. It's like, oh, so it's Hyrule Warriors, but instead of like Zelda characters, it's just a bunch of dudes from random uninvolved anime. Sure. At least they don't have to have the story make sense, because none of their stories make sense on their own, let alone when you're combining them. So yeah, did you see what else did you play? Did you play Mega Man? Did you get to play Mega Man 11?
No, I didn't play Mega Man.
Are you a Mega Man dude?
A little bit. I used to be more Mega Man when I was younger, but not anymore. Not as much.
Okay.
I mean, I got to see a bunch of stuff. I didn't get a chance to play a lot this year.
Me either.
We were lucky enough to have a lot of behind closed doors things, which was nice. I did play some Division 2, which felt really good.
Sure.
That was great.
That was one of my guys' games of the show. So
yeah, it was super good. Made me want to play that game again because I fell off of Division 1 real hard.
As did virtually everyone.
Yeah. And then it came back though, like it had this resurgence, and then everybody was like, "Oh yeah, this is one of the best games of all time." Got to see Control, which was another one of my games of the show, which is super kind of sci-fi. I kind of liken it to I'm just gonna go real old school. If you ever remember the Greatest American Hero, that television show,
yes,
the main character, his real name was William Catt.
Got it.
And I am a huge horror fan, so I remember this one horror movie that he did that was called House.
Okay.
And basically the premise was he was in this possessed home, and this home would change up physically anytime he would kind of go through the front door. So he would like go to the front door, and it would just change. It would just be a different house, and they would be stairs would be upside down and all this other stuff. Control is kind of like that, but if you mix that with Quantum Break. So it has this like really cool supernatural feel to it, but also has this like really interesting, not horror, but kind of time ripping kind of, you being able to kind of have telekinesis and telekinetic powers and stuff within the world, which is cool. I'm digging the landscape more than the actual gameplay that I saw, but it was a lot of fun. And the game that I'm most excited for that I didn't get a chance to play, but I was talking about this on Kind of Funny, was Dreams. I love that game. That game is going to be the thing that I'm going to play the most probably in 2018, 2019 if it comes out this year. Because it just has too many things in it that I like. And I love Media Molecule stuff, and they're a fantastic company and blah, blah, blah.
So I'm hyped for that game, partially because I'm hyped for everything. But, which I know, blah, blah, blah. Somebody once told me that if I'm hyped for everything, I'm hyped for nothing, whatever, they can go away. Don't turn The Incredibles against me. That's what they were doing. And I was like, how dare you? How dare you? But it's one of those things, like, I don't know that it's for me.
Sure.
But because you're basically making games, and making games is hard. That's why I don't do it. Because if making games was easy, I would absolutely do it. But I'm actually excited for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because Little Big Planet was really obtuse.
Yep.
Like the level creation and stuff like that. And I think because of the fact that Dreams, everything is kind of broken down into its component parts, like you can just kind of do the music part, or you can just do, like you don't have to make levels, you can make stuff.
Yep.
I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. Because making a level in a game is hard, but like making a cool tree is like rad. Making music is, there's going to be whole communities. I mean, Dreams is one of those games that 15 years from now, you and me are going to be on whatever the YouTube replacement is then, or on YouTube, right? Looking at people doing crazy stuff the same way we see people putting like Africa by Toto on Mario Paint. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I'm most excited for. Is like I'm waiting to see how many kids get this game now, and who knows in 10 years if the servers will still be up. That's always the weird part about all this stuff, is like it's all kind of ephemeral in that way. But I want this to be the like perfect gateway drug for kids to be able to get into game dev. Like I want kids to be able to play this thing and get into game development in a real way, and this will be the way that they can do it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's not a Twine game where it's just words and stuff like that. It's not, you know, Game Maker, which is a little bit more advanced, but still kind of, you know, beneath you doing stuff in Unreal Engine or anything like that. But it is this really cool in-between space where, like you said, you can make a thing and that one thing can put you on the map somewhere. Yep. Or that one thing can be the one item that everyone uses in all of their things that they want to use. You want, which is fantastic for as a kid to be like, hey mom, hey dad, I made this cool thing and look at how many people liked it or these many people used it, and you'll be able to track all that stuff in the game. So I'm like, I'm lobbying for all the people who have kids and who are, you know, who are going to want to teach this stuff in school to be able to like pick this thing up and play around with it and get kids involved with it, because it's perfect for them. It's going to be fantastic to see what comes out of that specific community.
Oh man, that community, the Dreams community is going to be crazy. This is one of those games that it's definitely going to bomb initially. Like it's not going to sell great. If they even sell it, I mean, we don't even know if they're going to sell it. It could just be free to play. Like, I don't know. We really have no idea.
They have to sell this thing though. I think if they go free to play, that's bad, because there isn't enough stuff in it for. Because then you add money to things in that game where that's not going to be.
You saw it BCD. I did not.
Yeah.
So you know, I will trust your expertise. So they have to sell it. It's gonna bomb. I mean, I really don't expect that it's gonna chart. I mean, you never know. I mean, because I think right now, like, the average person has no freaking idea what it is, and it's really gonna be hard to sell it. Like, you and me are nerds, right? Like, we're in the space, we understand, and you know, we understand these kind of niche games. But, like, the average, like, parent that buys games, like, Little Big Planet made sense because it was cute, and, you know, platformer, you know, whatever. Sackboy's a new Mario. That's great. And then the level editing stuff was, like, extra. But, like, at the end of the day, you were buying a platformer. Dreams, you were buying a tool set to do things. And I think that's going to be hard to put on commercials. But we also live in a world where a lot of kids don't buy games unless they've already been demonstrated for them. So the YouTube community, I mean, I think maybe they might be the ones. I mean, I'm kind of thinking, just throwing stuff on the wall. Maybe the YouTube community will save it.
Well, this is the thing: is if they market it in the same way that Nintendo markets their Switch games, in the same ways that they marketed the Labo stuff, in the same way that they do the kind of overarching narrative of this is a thing that will bring you and your kids closer together as a thing that you can all embrace and play together and build and make things and explore and all that kind of stuff, because it is a very difficult product to market. Then they have a chance. That's going to be the hardest part, and that's been the thing that anytime I've had a conversation with those folks, it is the one hardest thing to get across. Is just like it's the everything game that you can literally do anything and everything in.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that to people in a way that for folks who aren't initiated? And you have to do it in the way that Nintendo's been doing it, and that's the way that you get people excited. You have to go to Jimmy Fallon. You have to go to, you have to go on all those shows and Conan and all that stuff and like get the late night crowd to get behind it so that they can get an idea of how easy it is to make stuff. And then that stuff gets put into other things.
No, you're right. Not to interrupt you. Let's just brainstorm this a little bit. I want to buy the MP3 of whatever the Roots do in Dreams. Can we just do that right now? Can I like pre-order?
Right?
Can I pre-order that MP3?
Is that right? Right.
I mean, I would give them money. How much money would I give them? I don't know. Probably as much as my wife would allow me to. Because man, whenever they made like musical instruments for that Ariana Grande song out of the Labo, I was like, you guys are freaking geniuses.
And that's the thing. Is like there are going to be so many interesting things that people do with that stuff because there'll be at some point there will be an app that'll be on your phone where you can record sounds directly into the game.
Oh yeah.
It's going to have VR in it, so folks who have PSVRs, that's going to be a whole other different experience for people there. The one thing that they have to try to figure out really early is how are you going to get the stuff that's on your console into places that are off your console. And if they can get that stuff done, they can have a Toys to Life aspect to it with 3D printing. If you can get someone to do that stuff, like have somebody do that, there's a lot of stuff in that space that they've hinted at and kind of played around with that is really innovative. It's just that initial push. If they can get past that initial push and get some good press, then it'll be different.
There we go. So that's dreams. All right. So we've talked about some games. I want to hear the story. So you were on Kind of Funny Games Daily. Yep. That's how I became aware of you. I'm sure I had seen some of your tweets before, but like this is how I met you more or less. That is probably one of the biggest video game podcasts / shows going right now. How did number one? How did this happen? Not that I mean, just because I'm curious. I'm sure it was relatively natural. And how terrified were you to sit in that apartment or whatever the heck they rent?
Yeah, it's how did it actually happen? We have met, like Greg and I met a couple years ago at a random event. It was probably at a conference. And we never, like, through mutual friends, we got kind of introduced to each other. And I had done a couple of shows. I had hosted a thing on IGN a couple of years ago where they were doing at GDC, Game Developers Conference. They do this indie development showcase. So I got into those spaces. We were on GameSpot with Daniel Dwyer. He brought us on to talk about the show. So my name was in spaces and kind of like hanging out in the periphery of folks to kind of do a thing. And I was going to GDC this year and I was like just going to do a whole bunch of stuff. And I got like a random DM that was like, hey, I heard that you're going to be in town. Would you want to be on the show? And it was, I guess, through just Twitter and through conversations about, similar people. I knew Andrew Renee for a bit. We played Paragon a lot offline. So we used to do that as a thing. And it was like various people in the industry. We had gotten enough buzz, and I've been in a couple of places where they knew who I was. So I guess it was mostly that.
Okay.
But we didn't really like have a conversation really that was like, hey, somewhere in 2018 we're gonna make this thing happen. Like I pitched him to be on the show some years ago, and it just never really happened.
He's busy.
He's amazingly busy, and we still have to get him on the show. But it kind of just happened, and it was great to yes. And it was great to be able to kind of go to Kind of Funny HQ and hang out with Joey and the rest of the crew and just see the inner workings of this thing that has grown into such a big deal in a very small amount of time. But I mean, Greg has been known in the industry for a very long time, but like as an outlet, Kind of Funny is very new.
Yeah,
it's only a couple of years old. But it's super well known and a lot of people watch it, and their Patreon is ridiculous and crazy and doing a lot of stuff. And it was just, I was like, wow, this place is way smaller than it looks like on TV, which is cool though, which is like super fun. Cause it's like, it gives you hope. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. As
a person who started their podcast at their kitchen table with like a snowball microphone and, making it happen for as much as you possibly could. Yeah. Like that was the way it worked. And now we're doing bigger things, and I'm getting the ability to go do. Yeah, absolutely, right. Like we haven't moved that far from that kind of that kind of setup, but it gives you hope to be like, these folks have kind of grinded it out and have bust their behinds to make a thing happen. We can hopefully do that stuff too if we put out good content. And then I just got on stage and we just rocked it, and it was cool. It was just a lot of fun. Greg is just like good people. We got a nice email from someone after the show that was like, "Hey, I didn't know about your show. I saw you on Kind of Funny. You know, I didn't know that there were people out here doing this kind of work. It makes me really happy to know that you're in this space. Thank you." And that was great. And I showed that email to Greg at GDC, and we just looked at each other, nodded, and was like, "Yep, keep pushing." You know, like keep trying to make it happen, keep trying to do good stuff. Like, I appreciate the fact that they are just continuously trying to put out good vibes and positivity out into the world, and that's all you can ask for at this point. It's like you just want people to try to put out good content, positive stuff, make the world a little bit better and happier, and then after that, then everything else is gravy. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing, you know, because it's funny you bring up the fact that they've only been out for 2 years. Like, it doesn't feel like it's only been 2 years. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
right?
You know, whenever they talk about, like, oh, we've only been doing, like, you know, it'll come up on, you know, a random show or, like, an aside, and you're like, oh, you know, I've been watching them since their, you know, IGN days and the spare bedroom and all that stuff. You know, like, that was... you know, watching them because it's it's inspirational to see a bunch of people just work and fly by the seat of their pants. You know, the whole dumpster truck on fire, you know, mentality, just going for it. It is motivating for me. As, you know, just a relatively small operation out of Connecticut, just being like, hey, you know, I'm just going to do my stuff and try to follow in his footsteps. I have also started to review food on a separate YouTube channel. I review candy. He did the Oreo oration. I have a YouTube channel called Raising the Bar, where I review candy bars. I started with the Reese's Outrageous, which, by the way, not all that great. In case anyone was curious, not all that great. You can go to my YouTube channel for that. But super, like, the one thing that I do know about Greg Miller is that he has an insane amount of energy.
Yes. Like,
so you are a bigger dude. Did he almost knock you over with, like, his Kamehameha wave of positive energy? Or were you able to, like, ground yourself and hold on?
Like, it was interesting. So, like, I made sure I got there, like, stupid early because I was just, like, excited and really, really hyped. And I just, like, buzzed myself in and then, you know, went to go say hey. And we had a rapport. And it was nice to be able to kind of just chop it up before the show happened, because he's very, like, the thing I came away with was this very special level of respect for, you know, we're all grinding this thing out as much as we can. You know, you and I are a little bit older than Greg, and started later than Greg, and are trying to kind of, you know, all do the stuff that we all want to do in this space. To see someone who has had all the success be so humble and still grindy is nice to see. Like, it pulled this very special, like, you know, I didn't put Greg on a pedestal before I met him, because I just, like, we're all kind of just people doing this stuff. Yeah. But it was really nice to see him go from grinding it out, doing emails, setting up stuff, working on stuff in Photoshop that was going to be put on the air later, you know, like, doing the small things that I do every day to try to push our show forward. And to see that we're doing that same kind of work made me feel really good about the stuff that they're doing. It made me feel good about all the people who I know who are still pushing for whatever the dream it is that they have. Yeah. And it was great to see him, like, transition from doing that work into the Greg Miller that we all kind of know and love on his show. And it never felt forced, which is the thing I love about it. I was like, oh, you are this person in all these different angles and multitudes. And that part, when people are like, oh, Greg is genuine in the way that he is just a nerdy dude who wants to do a lot of cool stuff, like, that stuff comes through. And it was nice to see that just get, you know, put into real spaces and have a real experience with that. That was cool.
Yeah, I could tell. That's one thing that was neat. Like, I could tell that. I mean, you guys clearly had a rapport. It was great. I mean, you know what? For those listening, just it's on their YouTube. I would definitely. This is a months old episode, but it's certainly worth watching. Just so that I mean, now that I have introduced you to Kahleif, now you have to go consume his entire body of work. That's your homework. That's your homework. And go watch this video, because I mean, it'll give you an idea what we're talking about with this guy Greg, who does come up on my show a lot. I have a huge amount of respect for him. Funny story, I know his wife better than I know him. Just by nature of the fact that she does video game PR.
Yep. And
so, in fact, what's weird about it is the first time I met her, I didn't realize that she was her. So like she was like messing around on her phone, and one of those like pop socket things on the back of her phone. I looked at it and it had the kind of funny logo on it, and I did the math, like that meme where like the dude's staring at the camera and like the math just kind of goes in front of it, like that happened, and I was like, "Are you Genevieve St. Ange?" And she was like, "Yes, nice to meet you," and I was like, "Holy crap." Like, it was the weirdest. I was super embarrassed, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't do it that way, because I didn't want to come off as like not respecting her for you try to not be a jerk. I try really hard to not come off as a jerk, but I normally I make it through. My wife questions it sometimes, but that's her job. So Kahleif, you've got ribs going. So why don't we? I think our time is slowly fading, because I don't want to get you in trouble. Let's talk. Let's say you and I are obviously best friends now.
Yes.
For any number of reasons. It was preordained in the stars. All of my fans are now your fans, because they have to be. So where are they going to find you on the internets if they want to?
You can find all of the stuff that we're doing on Spawn.onme at Spawn.onme. If you want to check us out on the website, before we switch it over to where it's supposed to go, you can check us out on most of the places you can find podcasts. So that's Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, NPR One, Overcast. You can check out our YouTube channel, and you can definitely check us out over on Facebook and Twitter as well, at Spawn.onme on most of those platforms as well. And yeah, we do a lot of cool stuff throughout the year besides our show. We have a charity event that we do every Martin Luther King weekend called Spawn for Good, which where we try to tackle a charity that a lot of folks don't necessarily get a chance to kind of donate to. So we don't really do the kind of like St. Jude's versions of charity work. We kind of focus on really hard social issues. So we did some educational stuff about police brutality a couple years ago. We focused on reproductive rights a year after that. Foster care was one that we did as well. So we're trying to kind of spread out the kind of different ways that gaming and charity can kind of work together.
Sure.
And we usually do that every Martin Luther King weekend when we have a chance to get it together and make it actually happen. So next one will be our 5th one.
You better get planning, because that's not that far away.
Yeah, we're actually trying to do one before that.
Planning time. Oh well, then you get on that. Please, by all means, let me know. I will amplify and perhaps participate if I have the means to do so. Because I mean, we're best friends. I got to help you out.
We're the next one we're trying to do actually is one that's going to be a little bit more fun. Because we're trying to do a voter registration drive.
Oh man!
So that'll be funky if we can get a chance to do that. We're trying to do it for the midterm election, so keep an eye and ear out for that, and I'll bug you.
Yeah,
I'll bug you about that.
Yeah, tweet at me, shoot me an email. I will gladly participate however I can. Folks, thank you very much for listening to episode 142 of Engage, a Family Gaming Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as Kahleif and I enjoyed recording it, although that's a tall order, because I certainly had a whole lot of fun today. So next week, I will be back with Linda, who has been on vacation for a while. She and I are attending the Connecticut Festival of Independent Games, where I am a judge. and I will be and so we will be talking about some of the. It's specifically a board game show, so we will be talking all about the cool board games that we see there. I know there's going to be some interesting things, most of which I cannot talk about, but next week's going to be a fun one. And Linda is back. She is excited to talk about some of the cool board games we talked about. What board games did I... Oh, I'm going to be talking about my impressions of Ticket to Ride New York, folks. Ticket to Ride New York, which takes place in the 60s, not the 70s. My wife corrected me. So until next time, folks, this is Steven and my special guest, Kahleif. We're signing off. You have a great day. And don't forget to get your family game on. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. We did it.
Nice. That was awesome.
Thank you for listening to Engage, a family gaming podcast.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next